So I'm really excited today to welcome Rabbi Judith Beiner. Rabbi Beiner is the newly retired, so wish her a mazel tov in the chat, newly retired from her stint as community chaplain at Jewish Family Services in Atlanta. She was ordained in 1993 and is really excited to be here. And I'm really excited to welcome her. I'm going to share my screen for just a moment while we say the blessing for study together. So if you would like to, you can unmute and we'll say this blessing together, and then we'll turn things over to Rabbi Beiner. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed is the Eternal, whose mitzvot, whose commandments make us holy, and who commands us to immerse, to engage in words of Torah. And with that, I'll turn things right over to Rabbi Beiner, please.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here today. I think this is a great topic, hope, and I think that's one of those things as Jews and as human beings, I know we're always looking for. So I'm going to share my screen, and you'll see pretty immediately what my emphasis and my topic will be today. Okay. So I'm looking at this month. We are in the Hebrew month of Tammuz. And by the way, the texts, I have it in my roadmap here, but the texts are taken, if you're not familiar with this book, by Dahlia Marks, who is, oh, there we go. Rabbi Micah's got it. And so maybe many of you are familiar with it, but my lesson today is lifted mostly from her material, which I find absolutely amazing and wonderful. Okay, so let's start with a little bit of just a little bit of background on the month of Tammuz. So I'll read. So the name Tammuz is taken from the Babylonian months Tammuz, which is named for the god of vegetation, fertility, and food. The Babylonians believed that each year Tammuz would go down into the netherworld at the beginning of the month of Tammuz, so festive funerals were held for him. In his absence during the dry season, it is as if nature is dead. So according to the Babylonians' belief, Tammuz returns to life in the autumn when the plants start to grow again. And I gather from Rabbi Micah, lots of us are in hot climates right now, so we know what is dead and what is alive. And so what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to copy these two questions and put them in the chat and give us an opportunity. And then I want to stop sharing my screen so we can all look at each other, those of us who are on screen. Actually, it's not going to let me copy, but let's just play along. Is there anything absent, dead, or dormant for you during this month? You know, we're talking about this idea that the Babylonian story emphasizes that summer is a time of nature's death. Okay. And then the other question, do you experience times of lying fallow followed by times of renewal? So I'm curious if either of these topics, please don't hesitate. You can also, Rabbi Mike, I'll ask you to monitor the chat. If people you can put your comments in the chat. All right, Bob, what is dormant for you at this time?
Well, I'm up here in Maine where it's cool and far away from my family in New Orleans, so I do miss them. And those things have to be done by teleportation or telecommunication like this, and not actually seeing them and interacting with them directly.
Okay. Okay, so those relationships kind of lie a little fallow. Okay, Aviva, you had your hand up. You need to unmute.
I think the opposite. In July, like we get all those summer fruits and vegetables. Like, well, in August you get peaches and blueberries and corn. And in the end of June, we get strawberries. So it's almost in the opposite, because in Canada, most of the year, all we get is apples.
Okay.
We get all those delicious summer fruits coming in the summer.
That's a great comment. If you live in a desert climate, everything is dead. And even here in Atlanta, where we've had tons of rain, everything is very green. We have all the summer fruits in Atlanta. We have all of them in the grocery stores right now. And so it's not just a time of deadness, not just a time of deadness. What else? What else? Does anybody also, do you have times, are there times, maybe other times of the year where you feel a sense of things lay fallow and other times where you might be renewed or reborn? Are there other natural times? Think about your year. Think about your year.
I see David
Vicky.
with a hand up and Vicky as well.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Vicky, go ahead. Thanks, Micah.
Well, I know in the winter time, if it's cold, and I live in Charlotte, it's not that far from Atlanta, but it's cold. I don't go out. I don't like cold. I lay down, you
Okay.
know. It's also times of renewal. We all need rest. I need rest.
Yes.
And then I need time to recharge, and then I'm ready to go again. So it's those times that I've learned to um take in and appreciate lots more as I get older than I did when I was younger.
Yep.
So
No, thank you. And you introduced this idea too of rest that,
yes.
people who live in desert climates also know, during the hottest part of the day, you're home. You stay inside the AC, but it's a rest period. It can very much be. Right. Thank you. David, what you got?
Yes, I live in the Pacific Northwest, having grown up in New York, but I live in the Pacific Northwest, but a strangely dry little spot here. And I'm not sure if it's related, but for the second July in a row, I've gotten a bit depressed with loss of feeling of hope with climate change and the political climate. And yes, in the grocery stores, it's summer fruits, and there are farms here on the island, and all that's true and verdant. Um, but at the same time, there's something about this period that makes me struggle a bit.
I don't think you're alone in that. I think there's I think a bit of a cognitive dissonance for many that this is a time of summer. People are on vacation, kids are at camp, schools are out. Depending on where you live, sometimes summer festivals are really wonderful. Two of my grown kids live in DC, and one of them said to me, I don't really want to go to any festivals anywhere near the White House, just in general, right? There's that malaise which afflicts everybody. And it's a bit dissonant with what we all think about with summer. Yeah. So yeah. I don't think you're alone at all. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to push on with our texts having to do with this time of year. Let me scroll it down. There we go. Okay. Whoops. I apologize. Okay. So Tammuz is a significant time it's a significant time. So here's a text from the Mishnah that reported numerous calamities that took place in the month of Tammuz. 5 things befell our ancestors on the 17th of Tammuz, which comes up on Sunday, I believe. And some of these you might have heard of. And 5 on the night of Av. We're not going to do those. On the 17th of Tammuz, the tablets of the 10 commandments were broken. By the way, the 17th of Tammuz is a minor fast day in the traditional communities. So on the 17th of Tammuz, the tablets of the 10 commandments were broken, and the daily burnt offerings at the temple ceased, and the city wall of Jerusalem was breached, and Apostomus, a Syrian general, burned the Torah scrolls, and an idol was set up in the sanctuary. Okay, now before we answer my question that I've noted here, I want to add a few other things. So also on the 17th of Tammuz, Noach sent out a dove to see if the floodwaters had receded. And does anybody remember the result? Right? That was the dove. What happened? The dove came back with an olive branch. So that was that hope, right? Right there. However, the other note, and I had this asterisk, this connects with the Ten Commandments. Moshe returned from Har Sinai with the Luchot Habrit, the stone tablets with the Ten Commandments. As he approached the camp, he found the people dancing around a golden calf that they had erected when they lost faith in Moshe's return. Okay, this is a very famous story. In anger and despair, Moshe threw the tablets to the ground, shattering them to bits. Okay, so looking at this list again, look at this Mishnaic text. Okay, take a second and let's see if we can, let's talk a little bit about how are these 5 calamities linked. We'll take a second. Oops, sorry. Here we go. Okay, who wants to? There we go. All right, who's got a Micah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just spitballing here, but these all seem like, in some ways, catastrophic events having to do with foundational Jewish institutions, right? The temple, the Ten Commandments, the sanctuary. These are these are the places where heaven and earth meet, the places where God and humanity meet each other. And so it seems to me that these are sort of like the shattering of maybe of covenant, not shattering, but the sort of the potential shattering of covenant in each of these.
Yeah, covenant, and also you hit it right on the nose that these are all sacrificial temple foundational. Something is happening with the foundational objects, the Torah, right, and our teachings and things happening in the temple, right? And so if you think about what happens when the foundations of our lives, and I can ask that question very broadly or very narrowly, what happens when the foundations of our lives are threatened, right? That's why these are called calamities. We might think them not so calamitous, right? But then add in this idea too of Moses, right? That this happened on the 17th of Tammuz. Now we know it's not a new thing that the rabbis think about Tisha B'Av that we're about to commemorate next month, right? That the rabbinic tradition links up all these tragedies that happened on one day, right? Why do they do that? Why do we have to mourn all at once? Why do we bundle all these calamities, catastrophes together? What's the effect of that? Any thoughts?
I see Vicky's hand up.
I mean, it puts the emphasis on so much has happened. You have to take time to mourn to before you can regroup and come out of it. So you have to take that time to the calamities to rebuild
Okay,
afterwards.
yeah,
But
great.
if you don't take the time to mourn, then you just move on through without thinking about it. It's going to
That's
hit you in the
right.
face eventually. It's like any trauma. It will hit you in the face if you don't deal with it. So,
Good. Yeah,
so
excellent. Right. That maybe to bundle it all together, it's to get our attention to
all
say, hey,
right.
slow down, stop, pay attention. Okay, Bob, please. Thank you.
It's also a great rabbinic move to put all of these calamities together on a single day so that you can concentrate your mourning. Because if you spread this out over the whole year, I mean, I'm sure there's a bad thing that happened in history on every single day, and you don't leave any days to be happy or to be hopeful. So why not crowd it into these individual days, maybe one a month, and get on with your life for the rest of the time?
Yeah, that's a great insight. And you know that it might, if there's any psychologists in the group, we might you might be a little worried that we're trying to compartmentalize too much. But you're right. We do have to go on and live. I mean, if you think about how Judaism, how we do mourning, right? How do we do mourning? You get your shiva, you have your period, you have your rituals depending on the loss, and then they're done. And then you go back periodically, either on Yisker or on Yahrzeit, but it's not constant, right? Like there's the Victorian practice when a woman's husband dies, she wears black for the rest of her life, right? We don't do that. We don't do that. All right, great. David, what you got? What else? You have to unmute. David, please unmute.
All these terrible things happened to these foundational elements of Judaism, and yet we're still here.
Ah.
So there's the hope.
There you go. Yes, 100%. In spite of all the tragedies, we're still here. Look at what was the response when after the temples were destroyed? Rabbinic Judaism, right? Some of you might be old enough to remember, I think the book came out in the late 80s or the early 90s. It was called The Jew and the Lotus, where the Dalai Lama gathered, Micah, do you remember that book? Yeah, okay. I don't know if anybody else read it, right? But the Dalai Lama gathered a whole bunch of Jewish thinkers and said, he was in exile, and he said, how have you survived? What was the answer? Does anybody remember? What was the answer? We wrote everything down. We wrote everything down, we adapted, we changed, and we're still here. So I really appreciate the note, there's the hope. We're still here, even after all of these tragedies. So I'm curious to know too, the other thing I think we have to ask about these tragedies is these happened, the rabbinic interpretation of these calamities, right? They happened a long time ago. What's the purpose in our remembering now? What's our purpose in remembering now? Is it really important that we remember that the tablets were, or that the walls were breached, or other things? Is it really that important? Is there anybody who's got a thought?
Looks like Aviva, I think,
okay,
has a hand up.
Maybe
great,
not,
thank you.
maybe not in remembering the tablets, remembering that are breached, but in like remembering any tragic loss or anything, like remembering the Holocaust, so it doesn't happen again. Not
So
like we've been successful in it, but
yeah, so that what's those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it, right? Is that the quote? Maybe I butchered it. Thank you. Yeah, so to make sure we do need to remember what's happened, remember what's happened to us, remember what's happened to others, so that it doesn't happen again. Ellen, I see your hand up.
Yes, it gives us hope that we've survived all that. So when bad things happen today, we have courage that we will get through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, one of the first, I'm sure like all of us, we've all been glued to the news of what's going on in Texas. And one of the first things that I remember hearing, somebody who lost a lot said, we'll be all right. We'll rebuild. That was what they were saying for the cameras in that moment, right? So that constant resilience of people in general, and us as the Jewish people. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share, let me, hang on, let me do two things. I am very technologically challenged, so I apologize. I have one more piece I'd like to share with you that, Dahlia Marks gives this beautiful, let me get to it, gives this beautiful tikkun. So following that Mishnaic text of tragedies, Dahlia Marks brings in a kavanah, And a kavanah, very simply, is a hopeful intention. And here's, and she calls it, and I labeled it words of hope and inspiration. So here's what she says. Our kavanah for the month of Tammuz is a request for a tikkun, a correction or repair of each of these calamities. May the tablets of life that were broken be held in gentle hands. May the daily routine that was interrupted be guarded in beloved compartments of the soul. May new life burst forth from within the walls that were breached. May the sanctity that burned in flames light our paths from above. May hollow idols give way to honor and values. May what befell our ancestors and us find tikkun in our own chosen paths. So I love this piece. I think it gives each of us an opportunity. Whenever we say may, right? The word may at the beginning of a sentence, I think is inherently hopeful. It's inherently hopeful, right? And even if it's from the fiddler on the roof, and there was some negative, that came, I'm thinking of a quote that I can't remember. But anyway, so I'm just sort of curious, take a moment and look at this. And I'm very curious if there's any of these lines that speak particularly to you in this moment with this text. Are there any of these that you could take as an intention for today, even going forward? Rabbi Micah?
If anyone else wants to speak, go ahead, but this jumped into my head. Each of these, they're very interesting because these are not about undoing what was done. It doesn't say, may the tablets be repaired. It says, may the tablets that are broken be held in gentle hands. So the idea here is not to forget about or undo or go back and prevent the damage that was done. It's actually about holding the damaged versions of ourselves. And that to me is where the hope is, which reminds me, actually, if I can
Please.
say one more thing. You mentioned Roger Kamenetz in his book, The Jew and the Lotus. He also has a beautiful poem that's called The Broken Tablets, where he talks about how the broken tablets of the pact were carried alongside the non-broken, the new tablets through the desert,
Right.
meaning that we all carry these brokennesses, if there is such a word, about ourselves. We are who we are because of the things
Yes.
that get broken and the things that we suffer.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's a beautiful insight. Right. There wasn't the tikkun, which we translate loosely as repair, doesn't have to be literal. Please, Aviva, what are you thinking?
It's kind of giving me thought because I'm putting together sort of rabbis and service leaders for the next year. So I'm thinking, okay, can we take what we learned from last year and sort of make the new year better? And what sort of lessons? So sort of planning youth activities and our rabbis to lead our services, and sort of how I'm trying to get our congregation to see the light of how a certain rabbi fits so well in our congregation, and to spend the money on getting him to lead more of our services. Because I think he's such a good fit with our congregation. And so we're trying to get, our congregation is B'nai Shalom V'Tikva, so it's the children of peace and hope, or so, and we're in an area with very few Jews, so we have a congregation with a lot of converts and mixed marriages, and we're starting to get a couple youth, a couple bar and bat mitzvahs or junior youth group, couple a senior youth grouper. So trying to get someone who taught so beautifully. And we have a lot of members who aren't strong in their Hebrew, but maybe want to become stronger.
So Aviva, you're painting. Let me just stop you. We have a few other people too, but I love what what you automatically jumped into with this is there's forward thinking, right? And you know, the lo alecha hamlachalik more there. We can just there's always more to keep doing, and I'm delighted if something in these words got your brain going. Yes, forward movement. There's always a tomorrow. Right? There's always a tomorrow. So thank you so much. I saw David had his hand up and then Dennis. I want to make sure we get everybody in. Thank you, Aviva.
Thank you. Rabbi Micah's comment about carrying what is broken with us reminds me of the Japanese concept where you, like a bowl is broken and you repair it with gold, and the new repaired one with the obvious repairs is so much more beautiful.
Yep, Kinso Curry. Yep, thank you for
thank you.
that. Yeah.
And then the last line of the Kavanah makes me think of the Jewish concept, and I don't remember where it comes from, but the idea of all Jews from history to through the present and through the future existing all at once.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's just a through line of Jewishness.
Yep, that we are all connected through space and time on some level. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Dennis, please.
I was just during this whole conversation, October 7th kept sticking in my mind, and the tragedy of October 7th and all the crap that's going on right now. There has to be hope that this is going to get resolved and things are going to get better over there.
Yeah, I hope that, yes, hope that we can all find little glimmers. I don't know if anybody's been to Israel in the last year, in the last months. I was there just a year ago, and I remember feeling very encouraged. Not obviously politically things weren't moving, but life goes on. Babies are being born, people get married, businesses are thriving or working, right? And so that there's that part of humanity that we all just keep going. And I think it's important that we maintain some hope. Thank you. Thank you. Vicky, please. Please unmute. There you go.
And I learned yesterday that my granddaughter and her boyfriend, both Jewish, are going to they're signing up for the birthright trip to Israel in December. So that certainly gives me hope. So
great. And I think too, you know, just in a very granular way, I've done a lot of work over the years with grieving people. And one of the things we talk about is always have something on the calendar to look forward to. It doesn't have to be a major monumental event, but that forward thinking, that those tasks that we can keep doing and the ways that we can contribute in the world are hopefully give us a sense of strength and agency, and that we can be hopeful. Any last words? Any last words? Well, thank you. Thank you all for sharing this half hour. I'll send Rabbi Micah the texts if anybody wants them. You can, if you own Dahlia Mark's books, they're all in there as well. Wishing you all a wonderful afternoon.
And let me say thank you to Rabbi Judith Beiner, and thank you to all of you for being here. Next week, we are meeting with Rabbi PJ Schwartz on the topic of the courage to hope. So I will hope to see you all again next week. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.